Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, welcome to day 8 of training camp. A freaking scorcher of a day, an incredibly warm day. Matt LaFleur saying right from the get-go when his press conference opened this morning that he felt as though yesterday was lethargic in the heat. So today he was going to create a significantly longer practice where he wanted to see the intensity up, and he got it. It was nearly a 2-hour long practice in some pretty freaking hot temperatures, certainly getting ready for Brazil. But if you're wondering about the tone, the intensity, it was picked up a bit today over yesterday, but still a lot of the bigger guys were maybe not moving around as much as coach would have liked. There was one instance in particular where assistant head coach and special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia used some incredibly colorful, non-YouTube friendly language to yell at some of the bigger dudes about how no one cares if you're hot and mother bleeping, that kind of thing. Very, very loudly, by the way. It was very passionate. So yes, today I am coming to you from my car where I can have air conditioning on because Titletown, the tables where I've been at for a bunch of days, they're gone today. They're just gone. So nowhere to sit, especially nowhere in the shade. So coming to you from my car to give you all of the updates about day 8 of training camp. So let's dive right in to those details today. There were some injuries coming into the day, and there were a few injuries that occurred during the day. So, of course, Tucker Kraft still on the physically unable to perform list. He is not yet back. Matt LaFleur did say this morning that he's getting close to being able to come back. So look for that soon. Deslin Alexander, Keyshawn Banks, they both continue to be out as well with their various injuries. But joining them on the injury list today was UDFA offensive lineman Donovan Jennings. He was missed the first few days of camp with a knee injury. He missed today with the knee injury. So I don't know if, kind of a redo of the injury there, or re-aggravation or what. Then we also have Carrington Valentine, who is out today with a hamstring injury. That ain't good, but we'll have to see what kind of, if it was tightness or if a pull, we'll find out more soon, I'm sure. But then also Edrin Cooper, one player that I really haven't been able to find out details about yet, started practice, but then about partway through was seen taking off all of his pads and dropped out of practice. Just don't know why quite yet. So that is the injury list. Other just quick hit factual updates for you. No kicking competition today. So as it still stands, Joseph 1 kick ahead of Carlson. No new updates there. Lots of punting today, though. The entire special team focus was on punting and a little bit of kick return work today. But Dan Whelan, the Irishman, his boot is still incredibly impressive. A lot of corner kicking today from him. We know Bisaccia said earlier in the week that that's one thing he was working on. Very, very evident that that is an effort for Dan Whelan right now. Just booming a lot of kicks, causing the returners to have to back up. Very encouraging to see for the one guy in camp that doesn't have any competition whatsoever. Then your actual starters for today, the first stringers, first guys up. That would be, of course, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Luke Musgrave. But then the wide receivers, first ones up were Reed, Watson, Dobbs. As for the offensive line, the ones was Walker, Elton Jenkins, Myers, Jordan Morgan, again getting the start at right guard over Sean Ryan. And then right tackle, yes, Zach Tom did warm-ups at first, but then when it gets to 11 on 11s, he drops out. Today, though, it wasn't just Kadeem Telford taking over with the ones at right tackle. Andre Dillard did rotate in with him at times. Other notable things going on with the offensive line and their tiers, they have made an effort to get Elton Jenkins rest throughout the course of these first 8 days. He's had 2 entire days off. Well, today, they gave him some reps off, and they replaced him with the ones with Royce Newman. I said it yesterday. I understand that there may be mourning about this statement, but I'm just saying Royce Newman got snaps at the ones today. His place in these rotations seems pretty secure. So I don't know if he's the automatic cut that a lot of us think they are. They're just trying to work him up to trade him, whatever. Nonetheless, Royce Newman's still getting a lot of play. Defensively, the lineup, the ones was Gary Clark, Slayton Smith. No surprises there. Quay and McDuffie, the first linebackers up. Nixon, Jair, and Stokes in at corner. Xavier McKinney at safety. And then Anthony Johnson Jr. It was his turn to start next to Xavier McKinney. Interesting note about the defense, too, something that we saw evolve throughout practice. It was a lot. We talked yesterday about whether single high was being implemented more often by the defense. It was today. Lots of single high work today. And then beyond that, Jair had to sit out a series. Looked like they were really kind of screwing with his like shoulder straps, stuff like that. Didn't look like super injury related, but it was some stretching, some moving around of his pads, that kind of thing. So when he was off the field, though, we saw Stokes and Nixon be the two boundary corners with Bullard going to the slot. And keep in mind, Valentine was out too, so that may have had some impact in how they were working this around, but still some interesting personnel configurations on the back end today. Also, that 3 safety set that I made note of yesterday, we saw some of that again today as well. Except today it was Xavier, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Evan Williams today defensively for that 3 safety set. They really seem to like Evan Williams quite a lot, a bit. So, all right, let's hit a couple of these Campbells. What's up, man? The cost of 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Royce Newman. The universe is in balance. Everything comes with a cost. Ours is Royce Newman is our cross to bear. Connie, how did the running backs look today? Pretty good. Josh Jacobs had a number of nice cuts without full-blown tackling. Sometimes I'm a little perplexed as to where they judge the running back would have been brought down with live tackling. I mean, some of them I felt like they shorted him a little bit because it looked like he was going to break it, but nonetheless, still though, a number of quality runs from Jacobs today, and that's kind of been the pattern, especially running up the middle. The Packers even had one screen to Jacobs that actually worked today. It's the only screen I can remember working off the top of my head throughout 8 days now that actually worked in its full thing. So that was really, really encouraging to see. Also, the other real note about running backs, Dylan continues to look very spry. Everything about him just looks faster and smoother, and that continued to be the circumstance today. And then Marshawn Lloyd really did get into teamwork today. First time we've really seen that throughout camp. What really felt notable there was not his running, though, was his receiving. They were not kidding when they said, we believe Lloyd can catch the ball. There were a number of plays where he was the check down receiver. Did not matter who was in at quarterback. Lloyd got the ball as a receiver from the backfield. And by all accounts, it looked competent. I will say, though, this is something I was going to make an emphasis of later, but I can do it now. With the secondary strings, the reason why you see Jacob Monk as the try again another day, several botched snaps from Jacob Monk today. One to Clifford that freaking darn near went over his head. One that was a little bit off to the quarterback. It was kind of to the side. I believe it was Eason in at quarterback. And then that had to get kind of bobbled. And then that got bobbled in the exchange to Lloyd, the running back. And the whole thing was just kind of messy. And it all started with an off snap from Monk. So that also kind of came into play here a little bit. Brandy, I take it that 3 high safety is the workaround for a cornerback being out. Today, it really wasn't. In game, yeah, that's very logical. Today, though, they really kind of kept up. Like you and I were talking about single high yesterday. I felt like today, single high was a real purposeful move that they made. I didn't see a lot of cover 3 today. And even when I talk about that 3 safety package, it's not that it's true cover 3. Like when they've tried these packages with X, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Evan Williams, it's not that they're all going deep. In fact, sometimes it's been still single high safety, but 2 of them wind up crashing up, like almost 2 box safeties stepping up, and then only 1 falls back. So that's the 3 safety look in terms of today. It was a lot of single high work today. I felt like, granted, I was trying to look out for it more today for you guys, but I felt it was just a higher frequency what we've seen even other days. Kevin Kettle saying Romeo W's in late season form. Again, I'll talk about one-on-ones, but again, Romeo Dobbs getting the best of Jair Alexander repeatedly today. Now, something to be said, because I did see, as that was being reported, some people were talking about, is that a concern for Jair? Just keep in mind, wide receiver versus corner one-on-ones are built for the offense to be successful. The corner doesn't know what the offender is going to run. They do, though. Quarterback and wide receiver do. So keep in mind, it is very built for the offense to succeed. Doesn't mean that Dobbs isn't doing great. And Jair is in coverage there for the most part. Brandy, is this being done out of the 4-3 base? No, most commonly a 4-2-5. So 4 linemen, and then, of course, just like Quay and McDuffie. Sometimes we've seen Quay and Wilson. That was quite common today, especially after Cooper dropped out. I would say most defense that we've seen most has probably been 4-2-5. That feels right. All right, so then just a few other things for you. One-on-ones, I promised you. I got a front row seat at one-on-ones. By the way, regarding my seat, Packers, if any of you are listening, my patio umbrella was good to go yesterday. It was good to go for most of today. No more. They said no more. All right, one-on-ones. So we got Preston Smith versus Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker won that rep. Then Kenny Clark versus Elton Jenkins. Jenkins won that rep. TJ Slayton versus Jacob Monk. TJ Slayton won that rep handedly. Jacob Monk stood no shot against Slayton. Slayton just burst right through him. Then we had Devontae Wyatt against Jordan Morgan. They actually, like, to this point, it was only one rep each. Then all of a sudden they got to this matchup and they ran it out 3 times. I felt as though Wyatt won 2 of them. Jordan Morgan won. Wyatt really implementing, especially one of them that I'm thinking of, a very quick spin move on Morgan. Morgan, the one rep that he won, he picked it up rather easily. So that was really encouraging to see. Then Gary versus Telford. I just put LOL. Gary versus Telford is just not fair, as it's been every day. It's just not. And yet they continue to do it. Then we got LVN versus Dillard. This was another repeated matchup. LVN won 2 of them. Dillard did stand him up once, though. Wooden versus Royce. Royce won that one pretty easily, not going to lie. Ford versus Lecatus Smith. And I put Lecatus Smith as one of the winners of the day because this was incredibly impressive out of Smith. Jonathan Ford even tried to swim and then spin through Lecatus and just nothing. Lecatus Smith straight up stood him up. This was a very, very impressive showing by Smith. Then we got Carl Brooks versus Sean Ryan. Good showing here by Ryan. It's not that Ryan was particularly dominant against Carl Brooks, but when you're doing these one-on-ones and the push goes nowhere or it's a tie, that goes to the offensive lineman. And both of those, Sean Ryan beat Carl Brooks. Then we had Kingsley Enagbare against Luke Tenuta. Luke Tenuta stood no shot in sweet goodness against Enagbare. That was a win there. Mosby against Caleb Jones. Mosby, it's interesting that they do this matchup. Caleb Jones, obviously massive. Mosby, one of the smaller defensive ends on the team. And he looks like it going against Caleb Jones because Mosby, like we've seen this repeated matchup now both days in one-on-ones. Mosby will go in on Jones, and Jones is just mountainous like range. It doesn't matter if Mosby tries to swim, spin, nothing. Yep, Jones just absorbs him. Then we had Esther versus Lecatus Smith. Smith wins again. Waiga against Monk. This was Monk's real highlight of the day, really the only one that I can say of. Waiga lost his footing in a spin move. Monk got the pancake. Then we had Brenton Cox against Glover. That one goes to Cox. LVN versus Sheed. That one went to LVN. Wyatt versus Royce easily went to Wyatt. Slayton versus Lecatus Smith. Again, Smith, I'm saying he was impressive. I mean it. Then we had Wooden versus Morgan. Morgan gets the win on that one. And then Cox and Telford were the last 2 reps. Cox getting 1, Telford getting 1 as well. Kevin Keppel saying it would be interesting if Jeff keeps Gary one side all season as part of simplifying things. You know, I've considered it. I don't know, though. It's just, that's what's been every day. It does feel purposeful. But at the same time, like, there are pros and cons to that. I wonder if we're going to see, like, we may have to wait until games to really get that because they might be, like, from the coach's angle, keep in mind, like, they might just really want Rasheed Walker to go against Preston Smith. Maybe there's something in particular that they want Sheed to work on in going against Preston. Like, we just don't have that level of detail of what they are particularly looking for. But yeah, Gary always being against right tackle does feel purposeful. It's almost happened too much for it to be accidental. Connie asking, did Musgrave do better today than yesterday? Ultimately, yeah, because I wouldn't say that there were any mess ups today. And I think that that's what I would say. Like, there weren't any real drops out of Musgrave today. Also, not really any highlights. He did get hit on a couple, like, little 3 to 4 yard plays. Just kind of some under stuff, but nothing like yesterday where he lost his footing and dropped the ball. No low lights for Luke Musgrave today. In fact, if you are wondering about the drops, here they are. Toure had 1. Now, in Toure's defense, he did have a drop, but he also had 3 really nice catches today, which that's been a nice development because there's been other days where Toure, like, we've seen drop after drop after drop and then no nice catches. Like, this has been a real thing for Toure. Today, though, today was a drop and a bunch of catches. Nixon miffed a punt. Kobe Wooden Kobe Wooden dropping back in coverage. You thought the days of defensive linemen in coverage were done? Au contraire, because Kobe Wooden dropped back in coverage and then dropped the interception. Big man nearly had one. Then Wicks. Wicks did have the practice or game-ending touchdown in the 2-minute drill. He also had the game-ending, game-winning 2-point conversion. Before that, though, he also did have a drop. The theme of Dontavian Wicks having nearly one marquee drop a day did indeed continue today. On the flip side, though, for wide receivers, Grant Dubose. Gosh dang, Grant Dubose. I've been talking about how, like, this is another day in a row. 5 straight days where Grant Dubose has done something to make the crowd go, oh, dang. Today, his first one, it was a double move. He actually wound up being double covered on a ball from Sean Clifford. He just got up above the double coverage and pulled it down, even though there was substantial contact. It was very impressive. Then about an hour later, farther into practice, there was a diving catch that he made along the sideline. Plus, one of Jacob's successful carries today, Grant Dubose was the one blocking on the edge, and the coaches certainly made it known that Dubose did a great job on that snap. A very complete performance by Dubose. I feel like I'm saying that every day now. It's beginning to stand out. I'm not pretending at this point that he's going to push Malik Heath for wide receiver 6. But is it becoming at least a conversation? Because Heath isn't doing anything wrong, but Dubose is standing out every day, and Dubose is getting some snaps with the ones. It is something to keep in mind. Shigabi, hello, thanks for the updates. Of course, Shigabi, that's why I'm here. Kevin Kettles, Wicks Mafia in full force. He would be in fuller force if he could hang on to the ball every time. I don't want to be a hater, but man, it really is like one drop a day, and it sucks. But yeah, the 2 great plays at the end, those were beautiful. Connie, any highlights from Bo Melton? Bo Melton specifically? Yes, actually. Nothing truly on the receiving end, but there was in particular one. Let me check my notes. I don't want to say it wrong. There it is. Yeah, so it was in the 2-minute drill. Love is driving down the field, right? We got a whole bunch of plays. I'll just read you the whole sequence here. So carry for Josh Jacobs, diving through the line roughly 5 yards. Then Love to Watson, basically just kind of a bubble play. Anthony Johnson Jr. stopped it immediately. Love to Dobbs on a crosser, first down. Love, play action, absolutely nowhere to go. He held onto that ball forever, it felt like, maybe just because it was hot out, nowhere to go, so then he overthrows Musgrave, basically just throwing it away. Next play, Jacobs carry 3 to 4 yards. Love, then to Musgrave, couple yard gain, Javon Bullard there on an immediate stop. And that's kind of been the thing when the Packers do like these screens or unders or anything that's like a 3-4 yard little route. What we haven't seen from the offense yet is any of those plays really break free. It's just spanning over my mind for the last like 8 practices. It's been a lot of like, a 3-yard completion stopped immediately by Williams, Bullard, McKinney, Cooper. Like, take your pick of any of one of the young defenders. They are on these plays immediately, and that is something that's been different than past years. All right, so then getting to the play, Love, Melton going deep on a post. Love stepping forward in pocket. However, underthrows. McKinney jumps the route. Interception for Xavier McKinney. However, I'm getting the Bo Melton highlight. McKinney makes the interception, begins charging down the field. Keep in mind, this is during a 2-minute drill, right? Melton chases down McKinney. It's not that McKinney was like, it's camp, I'm done running now. No, the teams were still actively going. Melton chases McKinney down and strips out the ball, forcing a fumble from behind on Xavier McKinney. I saw Ryan Wood use the word scrappiness for Melton on that play, and that is the perfect encapsulation of Bo Melton. Scrappy. Even when others were giving up on that play, he didn't. He forced the fumble from McKinney. It was really, really encouraging to see. Then just some other deep plays here in the 2-minute drill, or a different 2-minute drill, I should say. Love, Watson, deep, complete, and then Love, also deep to Wicks, but unfortunately out of bounds. All right, Shigabi saying, how is Love's footwork looking? Can you see growth in his development? Footwork specifically, not really. It looks fairly status quo in that regard, I would say. If you're asking me to comp to camp last year, Love looks certainly more in command, much better ball placement, his and Romeo's connection has just continued to grow over the span of the last year. We talked about it a ton last year. This year, it's on a whole nother level. Love and Romeo really have their chemistry locked in at this point. However, if you're asking me to comp it to the second half of last year when Love was lighting the world on fire, then I don't know as if I'd say I'm seeing tremendous progress in that regard yet, if that makes any sense. Kevin Kibble's Bo Melton making Madden plays in real life. Yeah, if you're the Xavier McKinney defender on that one, you'd be beat by some one of my favorite phrases on that one. I think you know what meme I'm talking about. But all right, so getting back to the stream of plays, just overall some other general notes. Matt LaFleur said this morning, I said that they're using Marshawn Lloyd a lot as a receiver. Well, Matt LaFleur said this morning in his press conference that Lloyd has missed a lot of time and he needs to get back in football shape. And they looked out to prove it today. They ran that young man a lot in the heat. Then I also have Eric Wilson potentially ahead of Cooper right now. Now, throughout the course of practice, I wrote that very, very early on because Eric Wilson is making a number of run stops. There's a bunch of positive press about him. Matt LaFleur has talked about how Eric Wilson is the consummate professional, et cetera, et cetera. The praise of Eric Wilson right now really goes pretty far and deep. Meanwhile, Edgerrin Cooper, while he has made a number of special plays, and the thing about Cooper is his speed is very, very evident on the field. His sideline to speed very much there. You do have to question, is Eric Wilson kind of ahead of Edgerrin Cooper on the depth chart right now? Every so often when they do go to a base 4-3, it's not always Cooper that's the first linebacker in after Quay and McDuffie. A lot of times it's Eric Wilson. So at least a question. Now we'll have to see details on what exactly is going on with Edgerrin Cooper's injury to see for sure. Kevin Kebbell saying Romeo getting a mid-season extension if he keeps this up. I mean, he's got 2 years left in his deal. I think more likely would be next offseason. And we'll have to see what his stats are like to see if he breaks the bank. But yeah, it's getting to the point where I don't know how you break that up. Like, really. It's every quarterback's got to have their one, and it feels an awful lot like Romeo. Judah Time, what's up? Pass rush is much better this year in camp, as well as concerning Love's footwork. I would say yes. Overall for the pass rush, yes, absolutely. The first few days especially, it was just downright dominant. No doubt about it. However, over the course of the last 2 days, like, yeah, pads are on, but we're not tackling yet, et cetera, all the normal contingencies, right? But I would say that over the last 2 days, the pass rush has slowed. The pass protection is substantially better in the last 2 days than it ever was the first week. So that is something to bear in mind. A lot of the time, even now, when we are seeing pressure, especially ones-on-ones, it does happen to be Rashawn Gary just obliterating Telford or Dillard. Like, there's one play in the 2-minute drill when Love took the snap, rolled out, then he rolled back. Like, he was desperately looking for somewhere to go. By the time that was going on, Gary had obliterated through Telford, and it would have been a sack. Like, undoubtedly would have been a sack, but no tackling. So Love was allowed to continue scrambling and wound up dodging up the right side for 15, 20-yard gain, depending on where they marked it. First down, 2-minute drill, stays alive. That was really the one play today that would have absolutely 1,000% been a sack. So it is slowing, I would say. Kevin Kebbels, how often do you think about the Romeo Empire? Sorry, sorry, opportunity for fun. Right now, Romeo's on the minds of everyone. Kebbels also saying, you're right, got my years mixed up for his contract. Yep. Connie saying, has Quay shown a leap from last season? Thanks, John. Of course, Connie. Yes and no. I would say, from what we've seen, he's making a lot more run stops. I feel comfortable saying that. The other thing that we're seeing from Quay, I don't know is if we're seeing his skills show in a different way. I think it's more about what he's being asked to do. We're not seeing Quay have as difficult of coverage assignments thus far. Lots of change yet, still very early, but we're just not. We are seeing Quay do a lot more crashing, a lot more being responsible for a guy who's not going up a seam, but instead a guy who's doing a bubble screen or some kind of out, some kind of underneath where it's just 3-4 yards away. Well, Quay's covering that just fine. And oftentimes, like I said earlier, those plays are stopping immediately, and Quay is involved on a number of them. One thing that we haven't seen from Quay thus far is they haven't really employed him as a pass rusher much. So that certainly is an element of his game that we may see leaning into more as Hafley employs more exotic looks. But thus far, I do really like the way that they're employing Quay. I don't know as if his skill set is tremendously different than it's been. It's just his job is a little different, and it's a job that fits his skill set a lot more than it ever did under Barry. Kind of, you're the best. Oh, thank you, Connie. Brandy saying, do you think this new defensive scheme players challenges the offense enough for a wider learning curve compared to last year? Really good question, Brandy. I'm inclined to say yes. There are a few things going on though, right? Like year in and year out, defense always starts faster than offense. Like we have been saying, keep in mind all the years, we're like, even under Joe Barry, we're like, this is the year, the defense is on fire through week 1. And then week 2 happens, the offense begins to get its footing, and all of a sudden the defense sucks again by the end of camp. So like defense always starts faster. I do think that what Hafley is doing, the fact that there is at least more of a pass rush, etc., is all very good for the offense to go against. I think, too, that what we've seen the offense, the ones, match up against Hafley's ones thus far, is we've almost seen their strengths work really well because the Packers' offensive strengths happen to go really well against Hafley's defensive weaknesses. And by that, I mean like mid routes, crossers, etc. The Packers are better than darn near anyone at calling those up. Hafley's scheme, being very, very man-based, leaves a little something to be desired in that area. It's one of the weaknesses of the scheme. Well, we see crossers with some fair regularity be successful, right? However, the Packers have not been good for a number of years at dialing up screens, at dialing up really short routes and then breaking them free. It's been a weakness in the LaFleurian offense for a couple of years. Well, Hafley's defense is really, really good at stopping those because it's such a designed crash defense, right? So it's almost like for the offense, from their perspective, the strengths are even easier to do now. The weaknesses are even tougher to do. And hopefully, like I think you're alluding to, that should lead to some improvement in the weaknesses. In theory, assuming they ever climb that mountain. Through 8 days, we have yet to really see them figure out how to be successful, though. It's more of the same in that regard. I think that answers your question, Brady. Kevin Kebbles, I like that this defense is making the offense earn it. No more losing early downs in theory. Yeah, I mean, that is one thing. Like, along with the crashing, the defense has been very successful, especially on early downs when they're doing downed type drills, which isn't all that often. But yeah, I agree with that. Ms. Bagoat, late is better than not getting there. That's a true. For you, for the offense, everything. Thanks, Ms. Bagoat. Jim saying, Emmanuel Wilson doing anything. Wilson had a really good day the other day. I think he was one of my players of the day, like day 4, off the top of my head. The last 2 days, though, like Marshawn Lloyd got in on teamwork today. It was his first day in teams, and that meant we did not see as much Emmanuel Wilson as we had. I would say on the whole, though, let's take Lloyd out of the picture. Wilson has probably been the second most consistent running back in camp. Number one, probably Wilson. Dylan has, while he is looking better from a speed perspective, etc., he still has had some very unfavorable looks. He's had some plays that you wish would have gone for more, etc. Wilson, though, pretty repeatedly running against the 2s, now more often running against the 3s, has been able to find seams. He has been an effective runner to this point. If you're asking me from a roster construction standpoint, like where he is kind of in the hierarchy, I'd say he's still very definitively running back 4 with an uphill climb to make the roster. That can change, but I think that is where it stands right now, Jim. All right, so just to give you an idea, too, of the stream of plays, I like reading this off every day, just to give you an idea, then I'll see if there's any more questions, and it might be time to jump out of here. So, all right, here is your, one just general note, and I know you're wondering about this, the love to Watson. I talked about how, like, that chemistry, slow to develop last year. It's not looking great this year. One thing that I will note, and it happened again today, Love and Watson connected on another deep ball today. Love and Watson within 15 yards leave something to be desired. Love to Watson, though, 30 yards, 40 yards, that is actually starting to look really good. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth at this juncture. Kevin Kibbles, is there a noticeable difference between Jacobs and Dillon in camp? Yeah, Jacobs is able to shimmy his way through traffic more often, I would say. Like, Jacobs does still look like the superior runner to Dillon, certainly. Able to make moves through the nonsense of the trenches more often. So I would say that that's probably the big difference. As for running, like where they are in the hierarchy, as for running with the ones, Jacobs and Dillon are very much the running backs that are getting to play with the ones. Now, will that change a little bit with Lloyd being back? Yet to be determined. I would also say, too, that Dillon is the most or second most used protector in special teams for the returners, which that alone can get you a job. Cabbles, to add to that, we still mostly going up the gut or Matt testing the edge? It's a lot of up the gut. If they are testing the edge, most often I would say it's on a toss. And it's rare that it works. Their most successful running has been up the gut and then asking the running back to make a move. That's just kind of where we are. And that's not totally unexpected. Run game always takes a little bit of time. There's a lot of timing elements for the offensive line. The offensive line is still missing Zach Tom. It's had a lot of shuffling on the interior. Jordan Morgan still learning how to play football, etc. So, like, there is a lot going on there. Is Oladapo doing teams yet or just individual? I know for sure. I don't want to like speak out of turn or like lie here, like make it up. I would just say if he did do teams, it was not much. I certainly didn't catch it. I do know for sure one time when they were doing teams work, Oladapo was on the other side playing catch with what appeared to be one of the coaches. So, like, he might have gotten a couple snaps in there and I missed it or whatever, but I feel safer saying, like, if he is, it's not much yet. He is doing a lot of special teams work, though. I can say that. Brandy, how much downtime is there between drills? Do you feel that the practice is organized well? Yes. To answer the back part of that first, is the practice organized well? Incredibly so. There's basically a scoreboard on each side of the field, and on there is always like a ticker. When practice begins, the players already have a schedule. LaFleur has already communicated that schedule to all the coaches, all the staffers, even the equipment guys. And so that ticker on the board is how long has been allocated for each drill. And then when that hits 0, you hear the horn go across the whole stadium. And then everyone, you do not often see coaches yelling at the guys like, hey, up next is kickoff. Up next is this. As soon as that horn goes off, you see the equipment guys start moving stuff. You see players, like coaches, take off first, and then players follow thereafter. So, and then it's rare that there isn't at least more than one thing going on across the entire field. So in that regard, especially, like if there's only one drill going on, it looks because they want the entire team focused on that one drill for any number of purposes. Most often, though, like when it's position drills, when it's special teams, like position drills, the whole field is being used in all different ways. When it's special teams drills, you'll see the guys involved in teams over here, the linemen over here, the D linemen over here, and the quarterbacks play and catch over here. Like, so the whole field, again, being used. And as for like the timing thing, yeah, no, it is continuous. In time in between drills, to answer that specifically, it depends on what drill they're going to. But from drill to drill, it generally is a 30-second ticker that comes on. So they're like, one drill will end, you'll hear the horn, all of a sudden the clock will say 30 seconds or 90 seconds, one of the two. And then everyone moves, and then the horn goes off again, that drill starts. And that's generally about the break that they get, 30 or 90 seconds to get to the next drill, get everything set up, go. It's a little bit more liberal than that for some position groups, but that is the rough idea. So overall, do I feel it's organized well? Yes, incredibly so. Kevin Kebble's noted. Hey, diddle up the effing middle. It's a straight line. Matriculate the ball down the field, Captain Kebbles. That's what it's all about. All right, so just to give you a stream of plays here, just some more. Dobbs, again, had a very, very strong day. Want to make sure you know that. Love to Dobbs. Pass breakup for Stokes. Slayton immediately stops Jacobs' run. Love slant to Wicks, 15-yard gain. Love to Jacobs to right side, 5-yard gain. Clifford to Heath. Evan Williams, stop immediately. Clifford has forever to throw. Melton, sideline, caught, great catch, out of bounds. Eason to Hicks, screen, stopped immediately. Love, Kingsley Enigbare batted down at the line. Clifford to Toure doing a post, 20-yard. That was a really nice play for Samari Toure. Wilson completely absorbed Dillon, no gain. That would be Eric Wilson stopping A.J. Dillon on a carry up the middle with the twos. Then we've got Clifford to Toure at just a simple out, 5-yard gain. And then Clifford tried for sideline, bad throw, incomplete. So just want to make sure I'm looking over my whole notes, making sure I'm giving you everything. As I said earlier, Dan Whelan was incredibly impressive. The red zone did end with 2 plays to Wicks, touchdown, and then also 2-point. Just kind of doing a quick recap here for everybody. And then there was that one fumble that I talked about, which was a Monk to Clifford exchange, the 1 sack for Gary, the 1 pick for Xavier McKinney, the 1 fumble then forced by Bo Melton on the same play, and then drops to Ray, Nixon miffing a punt, Wicks with the drop, and Kobe Wooden dropping his 1 chance in his life at an interception. I do believe that's practice 8 in the books. So that's it, everybody. Tomorrow is day 9. Now, I know earlier in the day, they were calling for some thunderstorms right around practice time. If that's the case, as always, if it's not going to be open to the public, I can't go. I'm not credentialed yet. They're not even letting me have my patio umbrella anymore for some reason. So I don't know. They even took away my tables in Titletown. I'm getting shafted by the Packers today. So if it's thunderstorming, obviously nothing from me. But of course, I will update in the morning. Of course, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see updates there as well, even though I don't do as much as I used to on there. So, all right, everybody, time for me to hit the road. Brandy said, every kick muffed, a former Packer loses a vote for the Hall of Fame. That's why Sterling Sharp's not in yet. That's it. That's the only possible reason why. All right, Jagabi off to Puerto Rico. At least I think that's what PR means. See you when I get back. Oh, have the time of your life, Jagabi. That's awesome. All right, everybody, time for me to jump on out of here. Do hope you're having a great day. No, please go away. Don't stop it. Stop it. There we go. All right. Broadcast from your car is fun. All right, everybody, I'm out. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. And as always, go Pack Go.